Hello, BookTube, and welcome to your Daily Penguin. This is our tour through my Penguin Classic wall, and recently we have had a string of Steve A-listers, books that I love, books that I cannot do without. Books, I mean, I love all books. I love the idea of books, the world of books, but some of them, as you know, work on you on very personal levels, and we've had a whole bunch of those in a row, and I knew that that streak was going to end sooner or later, and I was worried that the first book that ends it would come off sounding like a criticism. And that is going to happen today, but this is not, of course, a criticism. Not at all. It's just a book, the first book that isn't a string of randomly selected books that I've pulled off the shelf and just put in one place that mean a lot to me. Instead, this is just a really good Penguin Classic, a Penguin Classic I'm glad to have. It's an anthology. Edited by Jeffrey Bowness and Anthony Thwaite, and it's the Penguin book of Japanese verse from the earliest times to the present. And that's why I want to avoid banner headlines that say Steve hates Japanese poetry. I don't. I very much value this anthology. It's just the first book we've had in a long time, the first book in this run that isn't intensely personal for me. Japanese fiction tends to be that way for me, but not Japanese poetry. But even so, I can strongly recommend this volume. It's about a half a century old, maybe more than that. But it's been updated a couple of times since, I think it came out in the 60s. It's been updated a couple of times since then. And it has everything that you would want. It has a long and very good introduction to the whole world and concepts behind Japanese poetry, all the different kinds of it, all the different traditions, the way that it's viewed in Japanese society, all that sorts of stuff. Very, very good introduction. Really does the job of an introduction for a work that obviously is intended for schools. And it also has quick but very, very good biographies of all of the poets. That tends to be forgotten in anthologies like this, and it's not forgotten here. And a glossary at the back. So in every way, this volume is doing what it can to de-alien this tradition for you. And for me, and it works really well for that. I have I have a couple of Japanese poetry anthologies in Penguin Classics, and I used to have a couple more that weren't Penguin Classics. I don't know if I do anymore, but we'll encounter more Japanese poetry and more Japanese literature, that's for sure, as we go on. But in the meantime, this is a short video. It is in no way a criticism of this to say that it isn't one of my favorite books. You know, that's a fairly high bar if a book is one of my favorite books. We just happen to hit a bunch of those in a row. That's all. But I do recommend this. I've learned a lot from it and enjoyed a lot of the selections that are in here. So I'm going to wrap this up. This will be a very quick Daily Penguin because it's a book that I don't know enough about its textual history. I'm not an expert on its provenance or its editors or anything like that. It's just a book that would show up on a library tour, on a shelf tour. So we'll see what happens tomorrow. if that stays true. Do we stay with books that don't mean the whole world and everything in it to Steve? Do we stay with, for instance, poetry? Your guess is as good as mine. I have not looked ahead, but we will see. We'll find out tomorrow. So I will see you then. Thank you, BookTube.